What's up, everybody? So today is September 4th, 10 a.m. As you can see, our box here with red guard still holding nice and strong, no leaks. I just moved it over from here, from this panel to that panel, because I'm going to build another box, and I'm going to use Ardex 8+1+9 in a paintable consistency. Ardex 8+9 you can use in two different consistencies, and the ratio goes like this. You can look it up at Ardex America on their data sheet, and the consistency goes like this. If you're going to paint it on, it's going to be a 1:1 ratio. 1 part powder, 1 part liquid. What I mean by 1 part, for instance, I don't have any cups or anything down here, but I'm gonna use, let's say I use this little thing here, right? So you're gonna fill this up to the top of powder or liquid, dump it, and then 1 part fill it up again with the powder or liquid, whichever one you finished using, and dump it. That's 1:1 ratio. If you're gonna do a Coke-like consistency, you're gonna do 2 parts powder, 1 part liquid. All right. So the best way that I would do it is grab some of those Solo red cups. You fill one with liquid, fill one with powder, and that's your 1:1 ratio. If you're doing a Coke-like consistency, you do 2 cups powder, 1 cup liquid, and that's your Coke-like consistency. All right, and that's the ratio, just in case you want to know. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put this box together, right? And then I am going to use the Ardex 8+9 in a paintable consistency. That's a 1:1 ratio with to glue down the seam tape, that gray seam tape right there. That's Everbilt's seam tape. Usually I do a Coke-like consistency, which is the 2 parts powder, 1 part liquid. But for this video, for this test, we're going to do a 1:1 ratio. Okay, so I'm going to put this box together, and I'm going to try to put the least amount of the adhesive sealant, just so I'm not getting a ton of squeeze out like the other one. The other one had a little bit of squeeze out, you know, and I had to put my finger and just rub it off, which is fine. I have no issues doing that. I just want to do this so the least amount of squeeze out possible, so that the Ardex 8+9 is doing all of the work. Okay. And yes, I'm building this box as if I was putting it in the shower. Now, yes, I did have another thing, I did have my pieces pre-cut, because I didn't want to make this video any longer than what it needed to be. Put that there. This is all I do when I build these boxes. So all of the weight, everything that's holding this box together is just the glue. I stated before, because I want the glue to do all of the work for these tests. Okay, let's get this one in here. There we go. Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay. It's a little difficult to do this, but there it is. All right. And that's the box. So I'm going to splice these videos together and make one video. Catch you guys later. All right, guys. So it is still September 4th, but it's 7:33 p.m. Our new box is already nice and firm. Our box that we've been testing for a day and a half already is still good. As you guys can see, no leaking anywhere. Okay. I'm going to sit you guys down right here. Oh, before I sit you guys down. So, as I mentioned before, when you mixing this Ardex 8+9 to a paintable consistency, you're going to use 1 part 8, 1 part 9. I'm using 1 cup, 1 plastic cup as a reference for you guys to see. And you're going to mix both of these in a container and paint it on. If you're doing a Coke-like consistency, to use it as thin set, like as I do, you're going to do, let me turn this down here. If you're going to do a Coke-like consistency, you're going to do 2 of the 9, which is the powder, and 1 cup of the 8. So it's 2 cups 9, 1 cup 8. And you get your Coke-like consistency, or thin set consistency, so to speak. I already cut all my banding. I already cut the slits to make the corners, because as I stated before, I'm not going to waste money on preformed corners. If I was doing a shower, yes, I would go and buy the corners and the inside corners, outside corners, yada yada. But this is just a test, so I am making my own corners. So I'm going to bring you guys right back as soon as I mix this. I'm going to mix it in this plastic McDonald's cup. So I'll be right back. Now, you see how I'm mixing it in the cup? You see how it looks like all globby and stuff? You don't want that. You want to continue to mix it until it's all nice and smooth. And then once it's all nice and smooth, you only have about half an hour to work with this stuff. So you want to work with it very, very quickly. Alright guys, so the first thing that I'm going to work on are these corners. And the corners are going to go like so. Just like that in every corner. Okay, so we have our mixture ready. And it's still pretty thick. So just keep that in mind. that yes, you're brushing it in, but it's still pretty thick. You know, it's not as liquidy as the other ones. Okay. Now again, I'm just painting these on. Usually I would use a trowel to put these on, but I want to see what happens when we're just brushing them on. Okay. Obviously I'm going to push some of the stuff out, some of the extra out. And I'm trying to do this video quickly, so please bear with me as I brush this all in. Now, since these are not preformed, you know, they're going to be moving everywhere, unfortunately. Let me lift this flap so I can get some underneath here. Okay, there we go. You know, this is not as easy as it looks when you don't have preformed corners and stuff. Okay, so that one is in. And I know this works because, as I stated before, I've done a couple showers with Ardex 8+9 and banding, so I know for a fact that it works. I just never brushed it on. I always used it as thin set. So today we are going to do that test. And then we'll do the flood test tomorrow, because this, believe it or not, dries in about 90 minutes or so, or actually half an hour. You can tile in 90 minutes if you don't need to do the flood test. Like, let's say if you were just doing shower walls for a tub surround, you would not need to flood test that. So you can actually do this in 90 minutes and be good. Okay. Just trying to get all this in the corner there so it's not lifting and stuff. Okay. And that's starting to lift. So if you were brushing it in, I would say get a spatula, a knife, like a spackle knife, just so you can hold it into its place while you brush it up and down, because it does get kind of difficult to brush it and keep it in its spot. Okay, that's 2. Let's get a little bit more, and I may have to mix some more up, so I may have to pause you guys real quick, mix a little bit more up. And this is something that you want to mix as you go. You do not want to mix a full pail of this for anything, because it will dry on you pretty quickly. Okay. Okay. Now, like I said, with preformed corners, this will be a lot easier to do, because you're not going to have it all uneven and stuff. the preform corners sit very nicely in the corners. So you're not going to have this issue of trying to work it and it moves everywhere. Just get a little bit to cover that. Okay. Okay, let's get this one. Okay. Okay, so there's all the corners installed, and just to keep the video short, I'm going to pause you guys until I get to till I finish the box. Okay, so let me pause you guys real quick and I'll be right back. Alright guys, there's the box all brushed in. As I stated before, this has when you mix the 8 and 9 together with its ratio, the 1-to-1 or 2-to-1, it's a chemical reaction, so it doesn't need air. It's a chemical reaction. That's what makes it dry. And I left some globs right there, but this is just a test for testing purposes, so it doesn't, I'm not really worried about that. I'm not worried about the buildup on the corners either, because this is just a test. There are 4 layers on each one of these corners, because like I said, when I build the corners, you have that flap that goes on the bottom, then the flap that goes up top, that creates the corner. That's two layers, plus this layer and this layer. That's 4 layers on each corner. When you do this with a preformed corner, as I stated in the Red Guard video, when you do it with a preformed corner, this section here, you install it, and then the banding goes up to here and here only, so you don't get much of a buildup. But I'm gonna let it sit here. As I stated in the previous clip, I know for a fact this is gonna work. I've used it, I've tested it many times, and I've used it many times, and I know for a fact that this is gonna work properly. So this is just to put it on video for you guys, but I myself know that this works. All right, and again, this is painted on. Usually when I'm doing a shower, I trowel it on, so today I just brushed it on. But there you go. Catch you guys on the next one.